When it comes to the aged care system that we have in this country and navigating your way through the processes to access support services, we often hear stories about how complicated the process is and how difficult it is to navigate. And quite often these stories can overwhelm us and stop us from embarking on what sounds like a really scary journey. But the reality is, of the one-on-one conversations that I have with those that are receiving aged care support, I hear far more stories of those who are absolutely blown away by how positive the experience is and how grateful they are for the wonderful aged care services that we have available in this country. Services that are really designed to keep older Australians living independently, safe and well in their homes and their communities for as long as possible. But these stories just aren't spoken about enough, and they certainly aren't reported enough in mainstream media. So my team and I thought it'd be a great idea, my team and I at Village Local thought it'd be a great idea to start sharing those stories and tap into those pearls of wisdom that those who are on the front lines experiencing it for themselves firsthand, those pearls of wisdom that they're willing to share with others that are, haven't yet gone through the journey or don't know where to start. So we're calling this CarePath Conversations, and I hope those listening into these CarePath Conversations can draw on the experience of those that have gone before you and pull out those lessons, those tips and those tricks to make the aging experience a wonderful one and one that complements your unique experience as well. So in our very first episode of CarePath Conversations, I caught up with a lovely lady by the name of Brenda Pettit. Now, Brenda's the mum of one of our very valued Village Local team members, Jen. Shout out to Jen. And Brenda was very, very kind to share her time and her experiences of where she's up to in the aged care system and the experience that she's had through that process as well. So without any further delay, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Brenda Pettit. Take care.
So I've got a nursing background, but art is my passion. So I'm no longer nursing, haven't nursed for about 16 years.
Oh wow, yeah.
Art took over that. I teach art to adults. So I was interviewed by Alfred Health to take over the role of teaching a carer's art class.
Right.
So it's a carer's respite program. I've been doing that since 2017.
So you're running an art class for carers as part of their respite. In terms of running the class and specifically targeting towards carers, what was the ideal outcome for the carers that you were hoping to have them experience?
A couple of outcomes, I suppose, is number one, they're getting out of their caring headspace for a little while. So they're not thinking about their caring roles. For some of them, they don't get out any other time.
Yep.
So it's their social outlet as well. And also trying to suggest to them different ways of seeing art, different ways of making art. So I throw all different sorts of things at them, a bit of printmaking, and it's mainly acrylic painting, but we try all sorts of things, and we've been on excursions up to the city, to the Loom, to see a couple of exhibitions.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, I know exactly what you mean in terms of, first of all, creating a common platform for people with a shared experience to get together, right? And there are many social and physical benefits to that as well.
Yes, yep.
Okay, so that's a really good segue then for the nature of this conversation. And that is here to talk about your experience as a carer, but it's also somebody navigating the aged care system in partnership with your husband.
Yeah.
So this is quite interesting, right? Because you're somebody, as you said earlier in the conversation, with a nursing background. So familiar to some degree with the healthcare system in this country. And the processes involved in navigating a healthcare system, and potentially the bureaucracy involved in navigating a government system.
Yes.
And then to layer on top of that, you're facilitating an art class where you're around others, a community of people kind of doing the same thing.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And to layer on top of that, you're in the thick of it as well in navigating it for yourself and your husband.
Yeah, there's also another layer there too, where my father died about 17 years ago, but they were assessed for what was then home help.
Yep.
Many years ago, and once Dad died, Sheila, my stepmum, moved into a retirement village. She is now in nursing home care. Mm-hmm. So we've been through the steps of the HCP with her, going from level 1 to level 4.
Got it.
And then into the nursing home care where it all dissolves from there.
Yeah, it all dissolves into another system.
Yeah. Oh, it's also confusing.
It's a bit of a minefield, and that's really what we want to get across in this conversation, right? And to share with those who will be listening to this conversation in the future, hopefully they'll be able to draw on your experiences, and have those experiences complement what they might be experiencing, and make sense of it for them, and also give them a little bit of encouragement that it's not one person that's challenged by it. It's a whole community of people across the country that are challenged by navigating the aged care system. And it isn't easy because it's a complex situation. Everybody's needs are different. And everybody's at their own individual stage of the journey as well. So it is complex. So getting back to your situation. So you and I crossed paths about, I was looking at the notes here, back in March of this year, 2022. And so everybody knows, Brenda, who I have with me today, she's the mum of a very valued team member at Village Local, and my team member Jen, who some people may have seen in the community group, contributing lots. She let her mum Brenda know about some of the work that we do, and started sharing some of that information, and that's how Brenda and myself met. We're just sort of exchanging some information and helping her navigate it as well. So Brenda, on that, back in March, can you give me a bit of a summary of what your situation was with, the caregiver role that you were playing?
Well, my husband's been diagnosed with dementia, and it is slowly progressing. He's still independent in some things, which is fantastic. We were assessed for what I thought was my aged care home help. Well, actually, I didn't realise that home help or CHSP and the aged care providers were two different things.
So I might just take a pause there. So for those listening in, just a quick recap. We in My Aged Care, that's the government department, right? That manages all the aged care services in the country. My Aged Care, that government department, runs two main aged care systems. Now, there are others, but I'm going to just say it's two main ones. We've got the entry-level system called the Commonwealth Home Support Program, known as CHSP for short. And then we've got the more higher needs system called the Home Care Package System, or HCP for short. Okay. So, Brenda, you were saying that earlier this year, or earlier this year is when you and I met back in March, but sometime prior to that, you requested an assessment.
Yes.
And what was the outcome of the assessment?
The outcome of the assessment was very positive. The woman who interviewed us was great and very understanding. But I hadn't realised that it was only for CHSP. So when my husband's needs became more, or our needs became more, I didn't realise we'd have to go through the whole interview process again.
Got it.
So that wasn't made clear to us. I just presumed that it was one assessment and would be reassessed as time went on.
Got it. So when you were approved for the CHSP entry-level services, was that earlier this year as well? Was that like last year, 2021?
That would have been 2021.
2021, okay.
Yeah.
And so when you were first approved in 2021 and you were granted the CHSP services, those entry-level services, did you find that at that point in time it was the right level of support?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Yeah. So typically, again, for those listening in, CHSP, entry-level support, what people mostly get under CHSP is about an hour to an hour and a half of domestic assistance once a fortnight. And you're typically out of pocket anywhere between $10 and $20 for the visit. It's a subsidised service that the government provides. So Brenda, that hour to an hour and a half, is that what you were getting? Or your
Yes,
husband?
that's what we're still getting.
And that's what you're still
moment.
getting?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
When did you start realising that, you know what, this hour to an hour and a half a fortnight, it's potentially not the right fit?
I'd been thinking about it myself, but when Jen started with Village Local, we were having lots of discussions about it too, and she, I guess, convinced me that more needed to be done and to apply for a reassessment.
Okay. What were the core things that you were experiencing where, when you heard Jen speak about the next level up, you were thinking, oh, that could be a solution to X, Y, and Z challenges that I'm facing at the moment?
A lot of this has to do with my own issues of having a bad nurse's back from years of nursing. So gardening has been an issue, particularly for me. Cleaning as well. I guess it was just finding out what more supports were available for us, and the fact that they can be paid for within the package. So things like cleaning gutters and assistance with down the track, nursing care, personal care, that sort of thing, meals as needed. So for now, gardening, gutters and
home maintenance.
Home maintenance and cleaning really are the four things.
Were the four things. And obviously an hour and a half a fortnight under the Commonwealth Home Support Program, that doesn't cover those things, right? So that's kind of what helped you make the connection, what Jen was talking about in terms of the next level up, which is the home care package system. Those are the sort of things that the community can access, and you realise in your current situation, well, you know, I should probably be in that other system now.
Yeah, and I'm also future-proofing, so getting things in place, knowing that all these things take time, getting things in place now for what we might need later.
Yep, that's a really interesting topic as well. A lot of the time when we say sort of future-proofing, that's exactly what you need to be. And the job of an assessor, it's actually quite a tricky job, because on the day of the assessment, what the assessor's doing is they're looking at your current situation for either the carer or the care recipient. They're looking at the current situation, and they are also looking at the progression of the condition as well. How fast is this progressing? And out of that assessment, you might see, for those who have gone through the assessment process and have received a letter from My Aged Care, not only does that letter state what level of support you were approved for, but it will also state the priority, being a low, a medium, or a high priority. And a lot of that is to cater for the fact that how progressive, how fast is this situation changing for these people in need, right? So that's really interesting. Okay, so Jen helped you shift your thinking a little bit to conclude that, you know what, I should probably get reassessed, or help your husband get reassessed for the next level of support, which is the home care package system.
Yes.
So what was that process like? What happened there?
I had no idea where to start. So with the help of my personal advisor, my daughter, she suggested I download some of your information on the questions to ask, and what sort of, there was one brochure that you had of putting your worst case scenario and what help you need on those particular days. And that was really confronting to do that, but it was also extremely helpful.
What was confronting about it?
Admitting that things were not as you would like them to be.
Yeah, quite often I get asked, or I get told actually by those in the community, oh, you know, I'm okay, I'm just thinking for the future. I'm not ready to do anything just yet. I want to maintain my independence. I hear these comments all the time, and then few years ago when I first started doing this work, and then the village local team developed, and we're doing it at scale now. We used to sort of try to help people or try to address people's biases around what support is and re-educating around what my aged care is. But we found over the years a much more powerful way to help people in their situation was by simply just asking, how are you managing that situation? And as soon as somebody says, oh, look, I need help with, the gardening isn't as easy as they used to be, for example, I would simply say, well, how are you managing that situation? And they might say things like, oh, my son-in-law helps me, or my daughter helps me, or my neighbour helps me. And then you go through a few day-to-day activities that happen around the house, and the more that people have an opportunity, a platform to think about how they are relying on other people, and they've got all these sort of fallbacks and little hacks that they've tried to figure out, they quickly realise for themselves that, you know what, I didn't realise that I'm overly reliant and I'm not living the way and the life that I wanted to live. And that becomes the catalyst for change once somebody's realised it themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is really thinking about it on a nitty-gritty level of breaking things down hour by hour, basically.
Yeah. And it's interesting, once you go through that exercise as well, you start listing it out, how long that list gets pretty quickly.
Oh, yes. Frighteningly so.
Okay, so you went through this exercise of self-realisation, self-actualisation, and you got it all on pen and paper. What happened then?
What happened then? We'd already arranged to have an interview with, was it ACAT?
ACAT, yep. So yes. ACAT stands for the Aged Care Assessment Team. And again, I'll just interject here. For those listening in, there are two types of assessments that My Aged Care can schedule for somebody. The first type is the RAS assessment. That stands for Regional Assessment Service. That team there, they approve people for the entry-level services of the Commonwealth Home Support Program, or CHSP for short, right? So the RAS team, they do the CHSP approvals. For those that need more complex care and want to get into the home care package system, the only way to get into the home care package system is to get an ACAT assessment. That stands for the Aged Care Assessment Team. It's that team that assesses people for the eligibility of a home care package. So your situation, Brenda, in some period of 2021, you had a RAS assessment, and the outcome of that RAS assessment was your CHSP services.
Yes.
And then was it early this year, around March or something like that you decided to get reassessed for a home care package?
It was March or April.
Yeah, March or April. So you called up My Aged Care. You said, I need more support. I need to get reassessed. And then you were put down the path and referred to the ACAT assessment team.
That's right.
Got it. Okay. So was that assessment over the phone, or they came out to your home? How did that work?
No, they came out to the home.
Got it. Okay.
The first one, the RAS assessment, was over the phone.
Okay.
But the ACAT was home, face-to-face.
All right, so that's an interesting point. So first of all, let's start with, let's go to the ACAT assessment. What was that experience like of having an ACAT assessment? What happened?
Lots of questions.
Yeah.
And the woman who was interviewing us was very probing in her questions.
Uh-huh.
So it became quite personal, which I'm not used to sharing.
Mm-hmm.
But she asked very relevant questions to our situation.
Got it. Okay. And can you give any? I'm putting you on the spot here, but if there was, one or two tips that you could give people in preparing for that assessment to make it either emotionally a little bit easier or less stressful. Is there anything that's front of mind for you that you could impart on others?
I guess very similar to what we talked about before of making a list of the worst case scenarios.
Got it.
Day by day, and really thinking about what you need and advocating for yourself.
Advocating for yourself. I think that's the money one there, right? Because a lot of people, they use the assessor as the advisor to say, hey, tell us what we need. Where, a lot of the work that we do at Village Local is to shift that thinking and to say, no, the assessor there is to document your situation. It's not to be your care advisor, right? You need to go into that meeting, that conversation with the assessor, knowing the solutions to your challenges. And the point of the assessor is just to validate your current situation, right? If anybody wants any
that's
further
a really
info on
good
that.
point too, but I don't think until I found Village Local, there's not enough information explaining that.
There definitely isn't. I haven't come across any information that explains that.
No.
The only thing that sort of caught me onto that was a couple of years ago. I came across a really good research study. I've got it on my desk still. Actually, it was done by, for anybody, I'll put a link to it in this recording. But it was done by the Consumer Policy Research Centre, and it's titled "Choosing Care: The Difficulties in Navigating the Home Care Package Market." And it was done by a gentleman by the name of Ben Martin Hobbs, January 2020. And the research findings essentially just said that those who end up with home care packages, they've really heavily relied on others in their professional network to help them access that support to the level that they currently have it. So what that means is they've gone into these assessment processes saying, what should I do and how do I do it? Right? You dictate to me. You do your best to understand my situation and then tell me how to fix it. Where the reality is, the only person that can truly understand their situation to the best ability is that person themselves. So really, that person, what they need to get good at is communicating their situation, and then communicating what they already know is the solution to that challenge. They may not be comfortable in requesting that solution, but that's what the Australian aged care system is asking people to do. We just don't know it yet.
Yes, you're right. And I think going into any assessment fully prepared, the medications that the client is on and the diagnosed conditions, medical concerns and what they mean day by day. What can your person do or not do without assistance or reminders, and things that would make our life easier.
Yep. No, that's really good. Okay, so you had the assessment. How did that assessment compare to the RAS assessment, which was over the phone many months prior?
A very good level of professionalism. Again, asking probing questions.
So this is in the RAS assessment. You're saying it was a very professional experience. Again,
they both were.
They both were. Okay, great.
Yeah. So I couldn't have faulted the RAS assessment either.
Fantastic.
And I guess just more probing questions with the ACAT assessment.
So you had the ACAT assessment.
Yep.
So let's fast forward. What was the ultimate outcome of the ACAT assessment? We're now in March, April of 2022.
The ultimate outcome has been that my husband's been assessed as a level 3 with an interim level 2. Mm-hmm. We haven't as yet received the final letter. We've got the acceptance letter or the allocation letter, but we haven't got the services yet. So still waiting on that letter, and that came out in early October. So it's been 2 months. Now, I presume the 90-day wait that they say that you might have is coming up, perhaps in January, so we must be getting closer.
Yeah, no, you're definitely getting closer. Okay, so the outcome of your ACAT assessment was approved for a level 3 home care package with an interim level 2 home care package. Now what that means for those listening in, level 3 home care packages, they take quite a while to come through. It's not unheard of them taking 12 months to come through, right? My Aged Care and the government knows about the waiting list and the challenges associated with that. And in response to that, the government offers an interim home care package of a lower level, which come through quicker. Okay, so a level 2 home care package, what we've been seeing over the last 12 months is people are typically on the waiting list for about 5 to 6 months. This is at the current time period, which is late 2022. People are typically waiting about 5 to 6 months for a level 2 home care package to come through. So Brenda, what you will be experiencing is, you said that you've been on the waiting list for a couple of months now. In the next month or so, you'll probably get a letter from My Aged Care saying that you're about 3 months away from your level 2 coming through.
Okay.
So that you'll get that letter, and that letter will say, now's the time to start thinking about different providers in your area, thinking about the types of support that you need, starting to meet with those providers to see who would be a good fit for you. And then a few, probably about 2 to 3 months after you get that letter, so on the 90-day mark, it's not exactly 90 days, but around 90 days, you'll get another letter. This will be the final letter from My Aged Care that states that you've now been assigned your level 2, interim level 2 home care package. Go and choose a provider. Your funding is ready. Okay? So if we're looking at timelines, we're now in December. I'd say you're about 3 to 4 months away from that level 2 being available. So I think in about January, February, March, April. About April, you'll be using it. You'll be receiving your level 2. Could come through a little bit earlier than that. I've seen it come through earlier than that. But I think March, April is a good estimation of when you can start using your level 2. And then you'll start using your level 2, and then a few months later you'll get your level 3. Right? The question I want to put to you, which I was going to ask earlier, is late or mid to late in 2021, you were approved for, or your husband was approved for CHSP services. Okay?
Yes.
Then about 6 months later, you had the ACAT assessment, and you're approved for a level 3 home care package. Now, that's a significant jump.
It is.
That is a big jump. So for everybody listening in again, when it comes to home care packages, there's 4 levels: a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, and a level 4. The lowest level is what Brenda was on, which is the CHSP level. That's not even a home care package. So her husband's gone from that low level CHSP, not to a level 1 home care package, not to a level 2, but up to a level 3. And did it in one bunny hop. How did that happen? This has always plagued me, Brenda. How did
that happen? I really don't know.
It's a fascinating question, right?
The ACAT assessor was perhaps a little more on the ball because she could see him face to face.
Right. Okay. So there's a lesson in here for those listening in. There is a lesson in here. I'm going to make an assumption, Brenda. You don't need to rebut or answer. Just I'm just putting it out there, right?
Yep.
In late 2021, your husband's condition and your situation in that condition was at a certain level. 6 months later, another assessment took place. In that period of 6 months, I would assume that a person's condition did not progress to the degree where you jumped 3 levels. My assumption, and again, you don't need to rebut this, but my assumption is, and my assumption's based on having thousands of conversations with people across the country who only get approved for CHSP as in their first assessment. My assumption is that most people that I certainly come across are getting under-assessed in that first assessment. Why people are getting under-assessed can be many, many reasons. It could be the assessor not fully appreciating because maybe it was done over the phone and they couldn't get a full visualization. Maybe it could be the person requesting the support hasn't fully and openly communicated their current situation, so the assessors only assess them on what they've said. It's a combination of everything. But yeah, I think that's an interesting point for people to take away. Just because you got assessed today and you only got CHSP services, if you feel it's not the right fit for you, look at Brenda's situation. Brenda came to that realization, got reassessed, and didn't just get the next level up, got 3 levels higher, okay? And I'll make another point here. Under CHSP services, you're going to be out of pocket, all right? You're typically out of pocket $10 to $20 per visit. You're getting an hour to an hour and a half of domestic assistance. You get some other stuff as well, but you're going to be paying a subsidised lower rate. Under the home care package system, the government is making a block of funding or a pool of funding available for those who are requesting support to use that money towards services. A level 3 home care package will make about $34,000 per year, every single year, available for Brenda and her husband to put towards support services. So this is a big jump up in the funding pool that will be available to yourself, Brenda, and your husband. But you knew that.
Yes, I know that now.
Okay, so you've been on the waiting list. You've now realised the flexibility that the home care package is going to provide you with. And I also want to make a point as well. CHSP services can be a wonderful experience, an absolutely wonderful experience for those who it's a good fit for. For those that only need that hour to an hour and a half, aren't looking for support with any complex situation, aren't too concerned about consistency of support, and can be very flexible in their support, willing to be very flexible. It can be a great experience. But if you're needing a little bit more customization to your specific situation, then do what Brenda did. Get reassessed and have take a little bit of time to practice, at least document what your situation is so that you can communicate that really, really well. Brenda, so you're finding yourself on the waiting list now.
Yes.
What are the things you're looking forward to most about your home care package, or your upcoming home care package?
Having more services available, whether or not we use them straight away.
Mm-hmm.
Just having the option there, having consistency of care, as you said, having the same people come to the house every week.
Yep.
I think that's really important in our situation, that there is consistency of care.
Yep.
I think that's about all. Just anticipating the future and knowing that everything's in place.
I think there's that's a really good place to end this conversation. Those are some massive takeaways. Those are some really wonderful things to look forward to. And you've also, in those things that you're looking forward to most, you've really drawn out the differences between the Commonwealth Home Support Program and the home care package system. So Brenda, let's wrap it up there. Hopefully everybody listening in on this has found a little nugget of information, of value from this, and from Brenda taking the time to share her experience. Brenda, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. And just everyone know that there is hope out there. Yeah. It just takes a little while.
Just takes a little while. And I suppose that's another lesson, right? Let's be proactive in our ageing experience and maintaining our ability to live independently, safe and well for as long as possible in our homes and communities. Let's be proactive about that and not reactive. So thank you again, Brenda. I appreciate that.
Thanks very much, Jim.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.